we like to talk about the box office.
Yes. So, Daniel, this may be a shock to you because there
Hmm.
definitely haven't been roughly 5 million YouTube videos with various types of attractive thumbnails showing this off, but the Joker movie may have underperformed slightly.
Yeah, I think I heard something about that. Yeah,
Yeah, kind of a sleeper news story.
yeah. Yeah, with that massive hurricane coming at Florida, I think
Yeah.
some people might not remember it.
Yeah. Um, so, in all seriousness, Joker Folly Adieu managed to come in not only under the Marvels, but it came in under frickin' Morbius.
Yeah, man, you got to be you got to be a pretty bad movie if you're going to come in below Morbius.
Yeah, and what I think the thing that astounds me the most is that other people are astounded.
Yeah,
Like the whole time along I was hearing about this movie, I said to myself, like, I don't see how anybody would possibly want this.
yeah. I remember when the news broke that not only were they doing the sequel, but it was also going to be a musical. I think at the time I'm like, what are they thinking here? That sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, and for that matter, like I was the idea of like Lady Gaga as Harley, it was a change for Margot Robbie, which it's funny. Harley Quinn was really the first Margot Robbie character I encountered. Um, I did at the time. I said, "Oh, okay, she's putting on a really good accent," and then I discovered that was basically how she sounded American instead of like what is she Australian?
Yes, yeah, Australian. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so,
She had the same accent in Wolf of Wall Street.
yeah. So I became slightly less impressed with it.
Yeah,
But anyways, like a new Harley Quinn seemed kind of interesting.
yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I never actually saw the original Joker just because honestly, the Joker as a character is one that I'm kind of tired of, just in general.
Yeah. Um, I think it's well the thing with it. I mean, he's the most recognizable of Batman's rogues gallery. I mean,
Right.
he's the one that like I mean, he's the yin to Batman's yang, and that's why I think there's so much interest around him. And of course, I think Heath Ledger kind of set the bar pretty high in terms of how to play the character. Whether you liked his performance or not, it was it set the tone going forward.
That might be part of the problem is just that because it's like for a lot of people who don't actually care about comic books or the larger Batman lore, that version of Joker is solidified in their mind. And I've heard people suggest that everybody who's played Joker ever since is trying to one up Heath Ledger, which you're probably not going to do that.
No, yeah, that's how we ended up with Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah. At least if you're not going to beat him at the same game,
Mhm.
um, you could probably do better than him if you like were trying to do like just a classic clown prince of crime approach, like out of the 1989 Batman.
Right, yeah, or even channel Mark Hamill's Joker.
Right, where he's like halfway between silly Joker and serious Joker.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, this is a huge disaster. What's interesting is that I heard suggestions that it sounded like the movie was initially coming in at 40 million, but then the actual result was 37 and a half roughly. In that 2.5 million of that was them having to account for on the day refunds of people like leaving the movie halfway through.
oh, oh,
That's an unusual number of refunds.
it is. Yeah, I don't. God, I don't know if I've ever heard that before with a movie. Wow.
I mean, the thing managed to get itself a D cinema score,
Yeah.
which, for those who don't know, cinema score is basically like an exit poll, because there are certain nobody's quite sure what their methodology is, but they basically just hang around a movie that's on opening night and just ask the audience, "Hey, what did you think of that?" Which
Yeah.
is why cinema score ratings tend to be graded on a very high curve. Like it's usually A minus. It's unusual to actually get down into the Bs
Yeah.
because you aren't dealing with like objective criticism. You're dealing with, did people who went out to the movies uh, expecting a certain type of movie get the type of movie they were expecting?
Yeah. Mm.
So clearly,
Yeah.
nobody was expecting this movie.
No. Yeah. Well, whatever their methodology they're using, I'm sure it's probably similar to the exit pollings in elections. So keep
Yes.
that in mind next month.
Yeah. Uh, Speaking of absolutely nothing to do with the previous topic,
Yeah.
uh, coming in at number two last weekend, Wild Robot had a pretty good hold, uh,
Mhm.
47% drop. Not the biggest numbers, but since it was a pretty modestly budgeted movie to start with,
Yeah. What was it?
uh,
80,
78. So,
78. Okay. Yeah.
so
Close.
sorry,
Yeah.
you lose by Price is Right rules.
Darn it.
Um, yeah, it's doing fine. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah.
Um, my coworker who went to it basically said that he was crying, which
Mm.
is why I haven't actually gone out to watch it because I haven't felt like a good cry.
Yeah. Yeah. Me neither.
But good on it. I suspect it's going to be in theaters probably at least through Thanksgiving weekend. Like I would think that this type of family movie, they would try to give it some legs,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
but we'll see.
Uh,
Um, Number three, Beetlejuice, which is still raking in money 5 weeks out
Yeah.
with a $10 million cum.
Yeah. That more than likely will make its money back.
Let's see. I wonder if it already has. Let's see.
100 million.
$100 million. Yeah, if you go with like the usual 2.5 to 3 times budget, especially helps when they get more of the U.S. take, and about 2/3 of the money is coming from the U.S.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that it's keeping those legs, because what it kind of sounds like is a lot of really diehard Beetlejuice fans weren't super satisfied with it. But
Mm.
honestly, like, it's like how many diehard Beetlejuice fans are there? That they're probably just appealing to the people who want to go, Remember sandworms on Jupiter? I remember."
Oh, I remember. Yeah. Remember the shrunken heads? Oh, I remember. I remember.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I was watching some movie on Max a few weeks back for our reviews, and they had a whole bunch of ads featuring those shrunken head guys.
Hmm.
I forget what they were advertising. It was some sort of credit card company, I think.
Probably like Capital One or something like that.
Yeah, so they were like out there shopping.
Yeah.
Maybe it was eBay or Amazon. Either way.
Yeah.
Um, Now, speaking of classic franchises that aren't doing so hot, Transformers 1.
Mm.
Third place at 5 million. And in 3 weeks, it's behind Wild Robots at 2 weeks, and it couldn't outperform Beetlejuice at 5 weeks.
Mm. I think that I think there was probably a lot of fatigue with that franchise, and I also heard a theory floating around. It might have been what's his name from Clownfish.
Neon.
Neon, thank you. That the IDW comic books really messed up the people's love for Transformers with certain creative choices that they made.
Hmm. Uh, y- I guess I'd have to look up like what the I'd have to look up what the actual circulation of those things were, though.
Yeah,
I guess people who were buying Transformers comics would be they would be like the decision makers, right? Or they'd be the people influencing guys to go like, hey, I love Transformers. Want to go watch some Transformers tonight?
yeah.
Kind of like
Although,
I would have been the person to drag people to Star Wars movies in the past.
yeah, yeah, same with me in Star Trek. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's yeah, that's probably true. But yeah, I'm although to be fair, like I think this is only like the second animated Transformers movie that's ever been made, and people probably don't remember this, but the first Transformers animated movie bombed at the box office when it came out.
Right? I mean, although in that one they had the excuse that, well, of course, you killed Optimus Prime, and all the kids told their friends that they cried like a baby because Optimus Prime died in the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, they kind of screwed that up, didn't they?
Yeah. Um, but it's a shame. Transformers 1 was a good movie. Reviewed a few weeks back. I would say that if you have even a passing interest in Transformers or just, you know, animated sci-fi in general, go give it a watch.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah. It's
Rounding
coming
up.
out on digital on the 24th.
Yeah, so might be better off waiting for that. I have a feeling that Transformers 1 is going to be one of those movies that doesn't do well at the time, but is well remembered
Yeah.
and it probably get some sort of, I who knows, maybe it'll hit well, it'll hit Paramount Plus, and then no one will notice because it's Paramount Plus. But
Mm.
it could be that they license it to Netflix at some point, and it suddenly has a huge pop.
Yeah. It's sort of like with Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, whoever at Paramount is in charge of marketing just needs to go.
Yeah.
But I suppose I should speak no evil. Which, hey, that was our
Mm.
number 5 movie.
Ooh.
Uh, which, small horror movie starring Professor X from the First Class movies.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, probably doing okay.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of X-Men, Deadpool, Wolverine, why won't you die? Because isn't this thing already on digital?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's bleeding theaters. It's not. It's per theater average dipped under 1,000, but it's been out for almost 3 months and it's still sitting in the top 10, which is either a endorsement for it or an indictment of what else we've been given.
Yeah. Uh, well, I mean, Joker ain't pulling people to the theaters, that's for sure.
Yeah. No.
Uh,
Number 7, we've got a movie that I heard a review of on Film Threat, White
mm,
Bird: A Wonder Story, which is uh, which is a Holocaust movie set place in France.
yeah. Helen Mirren is in it.
Yes. What's funny is that it sounds like it's one of those movies where they use British accents as a stand-in for foreign accents in general.
Mm. Sort of like our movie this week.
Yes. Uh, it sounded like it was actually pretty good, but it also it's one of those things where I think it is kind of important to periodically have Holocaust movies because just because you've seen a Holocaust movie and know all about it doesn't mean that other people don't.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet, and of course, like any tweet, this could just be somebody making things up. But it was a history teacher saying that he got to 9/11, and all of
Mm.
the kids freaked out because they thought it was just a meme, and like they were just stunned that it was real.
Oh boy. Oh. Man.
Yeah,
Mm. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think that and to go back to the Holocaust, I think uh, Schindler's List should probably be required viewing.
yeah, probably. It just makes you a more complete person.
Yeah.
Although I say that having not seen it myself, but I've read plenty of the actual history, so it's
Yeah. I've seen. Yeah, I saw that that the Italian movie. Life is Beautiful.
oh
Yeah.
who is it that There's some comedian had an unreleased movie called The Day the Clown Cried,
Jerry
where
Lewis.
Jerry Lewis, that's it.
Yeah.
Man, I wonder if that's ever going to actually get like some sort of release.
I don't know. I was actually wondering that the other too because he passed away about like 3 or 4 years ago, and I think he
Yeah.
said that as long as he was alive, it was never going to get released unless his kids are like, yeah, we're not putting it out.
Yeah, we're respecting our dad's legacy.
Yeah.
S- Speaking of legacy, we've got The Substance.
Mm.
Uh, that seems like a bit of a tangent, but yeah, there we go. Um,
Do you see how many theaters it's in?
686.
Oh, 86. Okay.
686, yeah.
Whew.
Uh, yeah. But it outdid Megalopolis, which, yeah, sounds like it was just a
Mm.
general mess. It already didn't make any money its first weekend, and it dropped 73% its second. So it's,
Yeah, all I can say is, Coppola, I hope selling off some of your wine business was worth making that movie.
yeah. You know what he'd tell you to do? He'd tell you to kiss my old ass, which was our number 10 movie.
Ah, yeah.
But yeah, so not the not a good setup for uh, a thriving October. I think the strangest thing here is that this doesn't really feel like a very horrific slate uh, for a Halloween month, which makes me wonder how many horror movies decided to try to avoid what do you call it? Tried to avoid being in the Joker's shadow, and man, that would have been perfect counter programming.
Oh, yeah, would've, yeah.
So
Well,
I suspect we'll start seeing some more horror releases next week.
yeah, I think so too, yeah.
Oh well, it's one of those moments where I'm glad I'm not I don't own stock in any entertainment companies.
Yeah, same here. At least not anymore, yeah.
Yep.
Uh.